Hi, and welcome to an RPM Telco tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about custom views or custom reporting in RPM. Now we officially call it custom views in RPM, but sometimes it's used synonymously with custom reporting. And custom views in RPM can be found on a ton of different pages. If you go to, for example, the customer page from like the top left menu into customers, you'll see this little gray bar here that is also on a lot of other pages, such as accounts or suppliers, even your commission items, and any processes as well. Now, this top gray bar here just indicates that there is custom views on this page, and you can just click this all view here to see all of the different custom views that are built into RPM or have been created by staff users in the past, or maybe even your own private views will show up in here. Now, if you give the star a click on the left hand side, you can make a view a favorite or unfavorite it. This will just make it shoot up to the top and make it easier to find in the future if you need to find it. Now with custom views, you can change the default view by creating your own view, or you can even just change a whole default view so that whenever you go to a custom view page, like customers or anything like that, it will default to that view. But before we get into all of that, we'll just show you how to quickly make a view by clicking on add a view here. Now, when you add a view, you'll be asked to name the view. You can call the view whatever you like. Ideally, you'd name it something that kind of reflects what you're trying to build here. In this case, I'm just going to do an example. And then at the bottom here, I'll say access, and you can choose between private or shared. Private views just mean that it can only be seen by yourself in your own staff user login or admin login. And if you clicked on shared, for example, you can make it for the staff user, agency user, or customer user, these three different user types that will have their own views and be shared between them. Now, the difference between the three is if you do share it for staff users, any user with a staff user login can see this view, but it's important to keep in mind that just because you made a custom view for some staff users, it will not give the staff users permission to see things that they wouldn't normally otherwise be able to see in RPM. So if you were to create a commission based view with a whole bunch of commission numbers in it and totals, and you shared it between all the staff users, those staff users would only be able to see those commission totals if the staff user itself had permissions to see those commission totals. If they did not, then the view will just show whatever columns they do have access to, maybe just customer name or anything like that, and will not give them access to anything that they shouldn't have access to view. So you're safe in terms of security when adding these custom views for shared staff users in case you're worried about sharing things that you didn't want shared between all of the staff. And with agency users and customer users, it is the same. The logins are very pared down to just what they can see normally anyways, so those securities don't change when you create views for them. But one extra thing to keep in mind is with agency users or customer users, you want to mark it in some way in the view title, for example, like agency view dash example in this case, or customer view dash example. It's just to make it easier for you in the future if you ever wanted to change or update a view, you'll know which ones are agency or customer specific at a glance. That way you won't have to go through all the views and kind of cross-reference between the agency login and the staff user login to see if you can find the view that is shared. So removing all that, we'll hit OK to go to the next page to actually start making a view here. And now this is the view creation page. You'll come into here when you're editing an old existing view or creating a new view, and it just lets you change what shows up in this view, what's filtered down, the columns that appear, and that kind of information. So at the top, you'll have the name again. You don't need to change this unless you want to change it. You'll also have sort on the far right here, which will let you sort by the kind of data that the view is going to be sorted by. So you can do it by like agency, ascending or descending, customer, ascending or descending. Or if you want to do like a leaderboard, you can do commission total, ascending and descending. Kind of see which customer billed the most for this month, for example, or anything like that. So why don't we do that? Just that. We'll do an example. Build this month. Fix a little typo there. And then, so we'll do this as an example. So when we create a custom view, we want to kind of keep in mind what we want the view to represent. In this case, we want to make a view that represents the billing for this month. So now that we're building it on the customer page, it would be a customer view based off of customer billing for this month. And you can kind of take this methodology and apply it to any of the custom view pages, pretty much looking at where you're starting and then what you want the view to represent based off of the primary entity, in this case, customer, that we're building the view for. So we can then add a filter, and the filters will pare down the information because normally, if you create a view without any filters on it, it'll just show you everything under that page. In this case, again, customers, it'll show us everything under the customer. And we can just go into here and say, let's limit it to commission items. And we'll say, has to have items in this run. And we'll do latest run. So it's only for this current month. So we'll make sure that it's only for customers that have billed for this month. And then that's a filter you can use. There's tons of different filter categories. Feel free to play around with this, and then there's no harm in making a view, adding a bunch of filters, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and seeing what actually shows up in your view. So tons of options in here, as well as the columns are the next little bit here where you can remove all of them if you don't want to, or if you want to start fresh with your view and just kind of add columns as you go. Or you can reset the default, which will just bring all of the default columns back into your view, and then you can continue to add columns from there. But if you click on add a column, this is the main usage of this little column thing here, and this will determine the columns that show up in your custom view. So if you were to make a commission view for your customers, for example, you'd most likely want to add fields from the commission side. There's also things like information. So if you wanted to know when your customer was last added or last modified by somebody, you can put those values in here as well. So things like sign in, the agency and rep, or maybe some underlying accounts under the customer, those are all things you can add into here, as well as added and modified. And then if we hit back at the top, we can just navigate back to all of the different categories that we had. So we go into like commissions, and then we can go into net build, for those commission totals, and we can do this run, which will give us the net build for this run, and we can even add something like gross commission for this run, which will just kind of give us a rundown of all of that. So perfect. So after we hit OK at the bottom, we create this custom view here, has all of our customer things. And then if we hit edit on this again, we'll just be brought back into that edit page and make any changes we want to the view. So I could go say net build this run, and we'll do it from descending in this case, which will just put all of my highest net bills at the top and then descends all the way down to the lowest. And that's kind of a leaderboard customer view for you right there. And if we were to click on this little view box again, you'll notice it changed from all to our custom view. You'll see that there's a new option in here now that's shared for all staff users. So anyone with a staff user log into this subscription will be able to see this view and give it a favorite if we want to keep it at the top there. Other than that, there's also one quick thing I want to cover. You can copy this view to create a pretty much exact replica of it. You can rename it and repurpose it. So if you wanted to say make a copy of it to share with agency users, that's definitely an option from here as well. Or if you want to just copy it because most of the views are the same, you just want to change the metrics from this run to last run. So you can have previous month totals. That's a quick way to save you some time when you're making a lot of views that are pretty similar. And the last thing, which is pretty important, is the temporary filter on all of the custom view bars here, which will let you just put a very quick filter on the view. I'll say, okay, this leaderboard's great, but I want to know when these customers were, or I only want to see the customers that were added this month as well. So new customers, do something like that. And I'll just put a quick filter on the view, which pairs down all of your data to just those customers under this temp filter. So yeah. Oh, and you can also save it as a view as well. If you didn't see that button there, you can save it as a view in case you wanted to preserve it and have another view. I'll take all the filters in here, including this one. So if I give this a click, I'll put that new state filter for Alaska in here as well. And yeah, I'll just hit cancel so we don't make an extra view. And yeah, so the last thing I want to show you is that this view page, again, is on a ton of different pages, but you'll see it. You might work mostly in the process side of RPM, and this is where views get really powerful. I won't cover all of it in this video because I'm going to be ending it soon anyways, but you can make these views and take these views and turn them into dashboards. So on the process side of RPM, which just makes the views, custom views, a lot more important. I guess, in a sense, in the process side of RPM. And you just do a lot more with these views, other than just making a nice little report. You can put a shortcut on your dashboard, for example, under my orders that will link directly to a view. So orders to check for month commissions or orders pending installation. And if we click that, it'll take me directly to the view itself in question. So views are both used as shortcuts in RPM, but generally they're really used as custom reporting. And you can put those nice custom reports on your dashboard if you wanted to review things monthly with the team or over a presentation or anything like that. That is a in-depth, detailed look at custom views in RPM. Thanks for your time. Again, if you have any questions or anything like that, please email us at support@rpmtelco.com. Thanks.